everybody. I am Tegan Bartos, founder and managing director of Jolt Your Career. My career started off in the Department of Labor, and then I pivoted over to recruitment before opening up my own firm. And so LinkedIn has been a part of my career and very heavily used, whether I was a job seeker or helping job seekers, or even now as a business owner. And so we're going to be throwing in a lot of tips for any type of area that you could be in today. So when you're thinking about LinkedIn, let me go ahead and share my screen. So for my visual learners, you can kind of follow along a little bit. All right, so how do you optimize your LinkedIn profile for maximum results? That's all of what the summit is maximizing your LinkedIn engagement results, whatever it is that your goals are. And so I'm going to be talking about how to actually build your profile up to optimize what you get out of it. And so I can't find my clicker, so I'm going to be clunky as I go through the different slides because I'm on multiple screens. But today we are going to be talking about, during this session, the power of LinkedIn, setting up your LinkedIn profile and optimizing your profile, whether you're on your job search or in sales or a business owner, so you can really improve your professional brand. All right, and why does this matter? Because your first impression really matters. Your LinkedIn profile is often, your digital introduction, I like to call it, to the world via a Google search or a Boolean search or whatever it may be, and how someone's finding you on LinkedIn. If your LinkedIn profile doesn't showcase your skills and portray you as that polished professional or maybe casual professional, however it is that you want to represent yourself, then you're letting that first impression slip away. So an optimized LinkedIn profile will help you really wow your reader and cut through the noise of an oversaturated market. You really want to tell your story, build that personal brand, not just your business's brand, and either get recruiters or clients coming to you. So LinkedIn has over 830 million users and over 200 companies. There's over 57 million companies on the platform. So chances are, whoever you're looking for, you can probably find that person or someone adjacent to that person if you're using LinkedIn effectively. All right, there's got to be a better way to do this. Here we go. So if you're a job seeker, there's over 15 million jobs posted on LinkedIn right now. If you're consultants, that might be an opportunity for you to come in and swoop in some consulting work. Whatever your reason for leveraging LinkedIn at this point, there's a ton of opportunities here. One of them is building genuine relationships. At one point, every person in this photograph was a stranger. There's an SVP at Salesforce, an engineer, executive who's built 90% of the Chicago skyline. So shout out to anybody who is in Chicago right now. There's a serial entrepreneur. There's a DEIMB director. There's a U.S. Marine. Thank you to any of you who are tuning in who have served our country or who are currently serving our country. And even a special education teacher, one of the very important heroes of our nation, right? LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to meet people outside of your bubble. If it wasn't for LinkedIn, the majority of these people I would have never met. So if you're in an organization right now, this gives you an opportunity to meet people outside of your organization, outside of your social circle. And these things are really important because when you're making that career transition, or if you're attracting best-in-class talent to come and join your organization, or if you're developing business opportunities, it's those genuine relationships that are the foundation and the backbone of your career and ultimately your career success. Very infrequently will you hear someone say, I did this all on my own. No, you need people. All right, so let's dive into it. This is kind of a little bit boring, but I promise you, if you make these changes, your analytics will skyrocket. So I assume everyone here has a LinkedIn profile if you're here, but if not, LinkedIn makes it really easy to set up your profile. You simply go to LinkedIn, you click join now, and then you follow each prompt. All right, so LinkedIn is all about 3 areas, the algorithm. Well, and even for how humans use it, right? So we've got keywords, connections, and engagement. You need to keep these 3 things in mind if you're not getting the results that you currently want with your LinkedIn profile. So nerd out with me for a moment. Keywords are things like your job titles, what skills you have listed, the words in your headline, in your about section. Those are all areas that are weighted a little bit heavier. And then your connections. LinkedIn's algorithm gives you priority to first connection. So like if you have a third connection, you might not even be able to message that person without having to use an email. And it just depends how they have their privacy and settings set up. But the more first connections you have, which is different to following someone. Following someone is great because then you see their content in your newsfeed, but you actually have to be connected with people to be able to increase who you have more visibility to. And then that expands your second connections and third connections and so forth. So for Stacy, Pete, David, and Cameron, who all just put your LinkedIn URLs in the chat, kudos to you. I see Joe and some other people have before as well. Ted just popped his in. You want to connect with people, and it doesn't have to be about a numbers game. You can have genuine connections versus just trying to get to that 30,000 connection limit. It's actually more ideal to have intentional connections versus just trying to get to a certain number, because when you connect with people who are interesting to you, who might be in an industry that you're interested in or have a position that you're interested in, whatever the case may be, that's going to help you throughout your career. And it's not like you want to be a giver or a taker. I'm a giver. And so when I say they can help you throughout your career, you can also help them. It can be mutually beneficial to enjoy other people's content, to get to know other people who are interesting. And it's important for LinkedIn's algorithm. And then lastly, engagement. So LinkedIn gives priority to people who actually use the platform. So setting up your profile and having connections isn't enough. You actually have to use it, like people's posts, comment on people's posts, be in the DMs and having conversations, which Dan is going to be talking to you about in the next hour to really get the most out of LinkedIn. All right, so before you edit anything based on my recommendations today, go ahead and turn off your share profile updates with your network, because that will blast out any changes that you're potentially making. And then once you're done making edits to your profile, then go ahead and turn it back on. So that way you can get those work anniversary announcements and birthday announcements. That will help. Certain things no longer get blasted out like they did years ago, like anytime you made an edit. LinkedIn has fixed that thus far, but some changes do happen, and sometimes you don't want people to know that you're working on your profile. All right. So I 100% advocate supporting each other on LinkedIn. That's why I love all of this activity that's going on in the chat right now. Endorse your coworkers and friends for their skills. Engage on people's posts. But in most cases, I do recommend you hide who your connections are on LinkedIn. You don't want to make it easy for your competitors to go and find out who your connections are. Let's say you're a pharmaceutical rep. You don't necessarily want your competitor to go on your profile and find out who all your connections are in the industry. So go ahead and turn that off. And that's right there in the same visibility page as turning off the sharing profile edits with your network. Now, another thing that is in your privacy and settings feature on LinkedIn, Sue's just asked if we're going to get a copy of these slides. Yes, Tatiana will get you anything you want. And plus, if you connect with me, just send me a note asking for my LinkedIn SOPs and I'll get all of this to you. All these screenshots are in there, really easily laid out. So one of my favorite features of LinkedIn is that they collect massive amounts of data. And they're going to let you have access to some of it too. So if you go under privacies and settings and then click on data privacy, then get a copy of your data and then download your connections, you can get the name of every single one of your connections, where they're currently working, their contact information if they have it public. And it's in a zipped Excel file. So you can edit that Excel file any way you want. You can do Control F and find every single person that works at Amazon. You can do Control F and look for, a certain person's name that you used to work with that you want to reconnect with. And then you can create an engagement strategy for who you want to reach out to for recommendations, endorsements, conversations, informational interviews, business opportunities, and so on. All right, everybody's asking, so it's perfect timing for this slide. There's a ton of other settings that you can edit, a ton of other tips that you can get from me. Just connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me see if I still have my LinkedIn URL here. I just popped it in the chat. Go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn if you would like a copy of my LinkedIn SOPs. There's no charge to them. I'll give them to anybody who wants them, but it's the exact guidebook that I follow when updating my clients' profiles. And it's screenshots of exactly how to do it and why it's important. So that way you don't miss any of these things. Because here's the thing. If you have certain settings set up to make it harder for people to reach out to you or to engage with you, like maybe your last name hidden, or maybe only second connections can connect with you. Little things like that that you may have set up years ago may be impacting your reach on LinkedIn today. And so we want to just quickly double check those things. And that's why this is called the LinkedIn before lunch, because every single thing that I am teaching you here today, you can knock out before lunch. If you're on the East Coast, it might be after lunch, but if you're in the Midwest or West Coast, it's before lunch. So you can get all of this done. And that way you can have the rest of your day, right? It's simple stuff that's worth double checking. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of these URLs that you're dropping in the comments aren't customized. So what you do is when you're inside of your profile, you want to take the time to click on the right-hand corner of the screen where it says Edit Public Profile and URL in the upper right-hand corner. You probably never paid attention to this before. And when you click on it, it allows you to edit your profile and edit that URL to get all those numbers that you're seeing behind certain people's LinkedIn URL in the chat to go away. So maybe it can be, you can change it to your name, middle initial, maybe if you have certain certifications after your name, if you have a common name. Tegan isn't so common, so I'm lucky that it just gets to be Tegan Bartos. But for some of you, you might have to get creative there, but it doesn't look as good when you have the numbers there. So make sure you take the time to optimize your LinkedIn URL. And then another thing that I highly, highly recommend is that you leverage your banner photo. An often overlooked but powerful section of your profile is that banner. If your LinkedIn banner is empty, as a ginger, I can say this, and I'm a stepchild. So like, it's sitting there like the neglected redhead stepchild. Like, you just don't want to neglect this section. People remember 10% of what they read, but 80% of what they see. So you want to make sure that that profile banner is, somebody else said that they're a redheaded stepchild too. Yeah, sometimes we can feel a little neglected in life and in society. It's prime real estate. Go on Canva.com. You get to create a free account. There's over 5,000 templates to choose from, or you can create one from scratch, My graphic designer, Mimi, she creates them for $20. So if you don't want to do it yourself, I can give you her information. It's right on my website as well if you want to directly reach out to her. But whatever you do, don't overthink this. The only thing I really encourage you to do is make sure that your branding's consistent. So if you're a job seeker, any of the graphics you use on your resume, maybe you decide to have, blue underlines or maybe like a gray chart, whatever it may be, then bring those branding colors over to your LinkedIn. If you're a business owner, then make sure those branding colors are in your banner. If you're representing your organization, same thing. So let me show you some examples because I see so many questions in the chat. Your LinkedIn banner is that top picture that it shows on your profile. So here's the picture of mine, but you don't have to worry about it being as busy as mine, right? It can be a little simpler. So if you're somebody who maybe is a people operations leader in this Jane Doe's case, right? But you're affiliated with different affiliations, go ahead and add those logos onto your banner so people immediately see the value that you have. So this Jane Doe, for example, is part of Chief. That's a women's only executive networking group. She's also a part of Hacking HR and Forbes HR Council, right? When you look at her profile banner, you immediately know, oh, you're a badass, right? Like, you know what you're doing. Now, I always get a lot of what if questions and multiple people just raise their hands, but we're going to take questions at the end. So feel free to put them in the chat if you think you're going to forget. But here are the common questions that I get for LinkedIn banners. So what if I'm a consultant, right? Then go ahead and make an on-brand banner photo for you. It's okay to have your company name in the banner, even if you're potentially looking for full-time opportunities at a company. And another what if is what if I'm on a secret job search, right? I don't want the same title. Or maybe you're not on a job search, but you do want to level up in your current company. Then you can use descriptor words versus a job title. So look at Danny Porter, digital strategist and storyteller. That doesn't say the exact job title, but it hints at what she does or what she wants to do. And then look at Donnie. A passion for people and purpose to inspire. So maybe you want to have more of like a tagline versus a job title. And you can do that by incorporating different aspects. It can be a little busier. It can be a little simple. It really doesn't matter. The main thing is that you're differentiating yourself by looking different. And when you're on Canva, and somebody had put it in the chat about your profile photo, go ahead and update your profile photo. So if you need to have a fresher photo, go ahead against a blank wall or whatever, take a picture, and then use the, what's it called? Background remover feature. So you don't have to be, a graphic designer to be able to do this. It wipes away everything in the background and just picks you. And then you can put a different design behind you. And that can really up level how your profile photo looks like, especially if right now it's, not in your budget to be able to afford professional photos, or if the professional photo that you got looks stuffy and you're not a stuffy person. All right, so we're about halfway through and I want to get to questions. So I want to take about 15 more minutes to get to something else. Richard says, FYI, the background remover is a paid feature. Yes, that is a paid feature, but if you need me to do it, I'll send it over to my VA and she'll get it. And Tom says, Photo Room is a free app. Yes, there's so many different apps that you can do this on. I love that you all are collaborating, putting different resources in there. The main point is just get rid of the bad selfies, like Charlie says, and get something that looks a little bit more professional. You can be, think about how many startup founders, they're in a black tee and they're just looking at the camera. That's fine. You don't have to have the suit and tie. If you look at me, I'm sitting at a desk smiling, and I actually have a phone in my lap, like in my picture. But it's something that I feel, because I got a lot of hair, it's always getting in the way. So it's something that I feel like my face isn't covered. I'm smiling. I look approachable. I don't look too stuffy, and boom, there you go. I've got my profile picture. Now, when you're optimizing your profile, LinkedIn has made a lot of new updates in the past 6 months, let alone the past couple of years, depending on when the last time you put some serious effort into your LinkedIn profile was. So going down, the next is your headline. This is prime content because your headline follows you. Anytime you leave a comment, it shows your picture, your name, and your headline. So you want to make sure that your headline's really strong. So you just click that little gray arrow to be able to get to the area where you edit all of this information right here. So let's go through a little bit until we run out of time. So my headline, for example, it will default to my current job at company. That's really boring, guys. You want to quickly increase your visibility and land more job interviews or business development calls, update your headline because one, keywords for the algorithm for when people are doing Boolean searches to find people like you, but two, for the human reader who is like, do I really want to talk to this person? Why do I want to talk to this person? The headline should say exactly why someone should reach out to you. For me, 2022 top job search expert to follow on LinkedIn. Okay, well, if you're potentially looking for a job, or if you're in the TA space and looking for a trainer to come into your organization, I want to talk to this person. If it just said founder jolt your career, nobody would know how to get in touch with me, right? So you want to make sure that you give people a reason to connect with you. And then this summer, industries change. So if someone is looking for people in a specific industry, like any of those who use Sales Navigator and you're filtering by industry, industry codes just changed in July of 2022. So go on and update your industry code, because if you were in IT before, now it's a whole entire another industry code. So double check that. And what will happen is you start typing in your industry and a drop-down box will come up. On LinkedIn, if there's a drop-down box that comes up, you have to click on the drop-down box option. Otherwise, it doesn't pair with LinkedIn's algorithm. So that's a quick win for you right there as well. All right, so lots of questions about how to optimize your headline. Your job title, a keyword at company with a value added statement is one way to do it. So like this is one of my clients, right? Machine learning engineer, machine learning ops, 3 times AWS certified, senior blank at blank, building AI systems to automate predictive models, right? And so this just tells you what kind of job he has, some of his certifications to give him clarity, where he works to make it so that his job isn't concerned that he's looking for work because he's changing his headline, and then how he brings value to his organization. In sales, this is really big. You want to talk about how you create value to your customers. Here's a couple other examples: building operational excellence that skyrockets customer success, account management and customer success leader. And then here's I work a lot with tech. So AWS certified developer associate, DevOps engineer, bridging the gap between business and tech. Let's connect. So there's a call to action here. Let's go ahead and connect. And you see their banner photos. So hopefully this gives you some inspiration on things that you can do right there at the top of your profile to really take your LinkedIn to the next level. And all of this helps you reach all-star status. So some of the OGs on LinkedIn know that there used to be an all-star status badge that you would get once you have 7 categories completed, but it's not always as clear now. So for those of you who maybe have some difficulties, or your LinkedIn profile, maybe you're out of work right now or don't have a college degree, so your profile never hits all-star status, there's some hacks that I want you to consider, because to reach all-star status, that gives you an additional algorithm boost. And at the end of the day, people matter, but the algorithm matters too, because the algorithm is how the search filter works for people to find you. So you need that profile photo, you need current work experience, you need education info, you need your location on there, you need at least 5 skills, although I recommend using all 50. And then you need to connect with at least 50 people. However, once you get to 500 plus connections, you get an additional algorithm boost, and you need an about section filled up. And so there's a couple of areas where people can kind of struggle with this. So if you're not currently working, there's a couple of things that you can do on your experience section. Take a Coursera course and add that you're currently studying. If you have a side hustle, create a company page with that side hustle, like in this example right here with the yoga studio, and add that as your current experience. If you added a career break, that does not help you with the algorithm. And so it's fine to add that career break, but ideally you want to have something else on there as well. In terms of education, Mark asked, how can you tell if you're an all-star status or not? You just know if you have those 7 categories filled out. And if you do, it's behind the scenes. They no longer pop up with that special badge. But at the top of your LinkedIn profile, there's going to be a little gray box that, that will say, do you want to add current work experience? ? And that will give you a hint that you haven't recently updated one of those sections, or one of those sections is blank. So you're not getting the full algorithm power that you otherwise could. So in terms of your education, if you have never graduated from college, you can put, if you like went for coursework, you can add that you had coursework and kind of hack the system that way. You can add your high school diploma, but if you don't want to be as obvious that you don't have higher education, take one of those Coursera courses or one of the other courses, Udemy courses that are free that came through one of these organizations to add that there. And even though technically it would be a certification, as long as you're transparent that it is a certification and not a degree, there's no integrity issues here with that. So I know I'm kind of flying through, but just really quickly, after education comes your location. For those of you who live in Bufu, I say I'm from Chicago, but I'm actually in Schaumburg, which is right by O'Hare Airport. I'm in a suburb. Granted, I'm in a suburb that has the 3rd largest mall in the country, but still, I'm in the suburb. And so if someone's doing a Boolean search to find someone, you get a greater algorithm boost if you use the greater metropolitan area on your location. So here's another quick win for you. So let's see. And then if you have a website, like if you're in sales, go ahead and add how people can reach out to you. If you have a portfolio, a YouTube blog, if you sell Avon, go ahead and promote that kind of stuff. LinkedIn, not everybody has access to websites yet. But you click the little gray pencil at the top of your profile when you're editing like your name and stuff, and scroll all the way down to the bottom past education and location. And then if your profile has been a part of the new rollout, you'll have this on there. And this gives people access to go straight to my website or book a consultation with me immediately. I can't tell you how much business I've gained just by having it easy for people to immediately reach me when they come on my profile. So if you don't have it yet, it will be coming. One of the things that you can try doing is updating different things on your profile, logging out, deleting your app, and then logging back in. And miraculously, people's profiles tend to update a lot quicker when you do that. So another little hidden gem here is you're open to. Lots of people will say that they're open to work, but you can also add that you're open to providing services. So if you're a consultant, you can have a providing services page that's public, and you can actually get people to leave you reviews on here. So Mark is in the comments right now, or at least he was earlier. He's actually one of my clients who left me a review. So the cool thing about this, because I help job seekers. And actually, when I worked with him, he wasn't even searching for work. He just wanted to take his professional brand to the next level because he's in a client-facing role. He left me this review on my services page, but it doesn't show up on his LinkedIn profile under the recommendations given. It's a private. So sometimes if you're consulting on certain things that people might want to be a little bit more private about, you can have them leave you a recommendation on your services page without it having to go public anywhere else that you helped them there. And so this is also where, if you're looking for a job, you can do open to work. And if you're hiring, turn on that open to hiring. If you right now, the job market is starting to slow down because of the hiring is starting to slow down because of economic conditions, right? But there's still tons of positions open, millions and 15 million, in fact, on LinkedIn right now. And so if you are hiring for a position, don't you want to reduce barriers to getting the best talent to work for you? And part of your LinkedIn profile as a hiring leader is you want people to not only want to work for your company, but you want them to work for you. And so all you have to do is click on open to work, and then a box will pop up that says, do you want to do open to hiring, open to work, or open to providing services? You click on which one, and then you fill out the information. It's that easy. And so that will, depending on what you're here for today, hopefully that gives you some insight on something that you might not have otherwise used. Another area at the top of your profile that you really want to take into consideration, do not go crazy over numbers, but take this into consideration. Look at your analytics. Are people finding you? So I think this is about, right there, in the past 7 days, right? So in the past 7 days, over 6,000 people have viewed my profile. Almost 150,000 people have given me post impressions, whatever that means. And I've appeared in almost 2,500 search appearances. So keywords, people found me as writer, career coach, recruiter, coach, and strategist, right? So who are you and what keywords do you want to be found for? And then who do you want finding you? So one of the top people who find me are CEOs. My sweet spot, for those of you who are like biz dev people, my sweet spot is working with mid to senior level leaders. All of my branding is geared towards mid to senior level leaders, not executives. So it's ironic that I am drawing so much attention from executives. That means I might need to start doing something. Well, first of all, I will work with executives, right? But it's an interesting analytics to say, I wonder why so many CEOs are looking at me. And it's just the nature of who I'm working with right now, because I'm working with so many startups who are getting bought and sold. So I would say in the past couple of months, I've heavily been working with executives, but I would want to see my analytics get closer to my true north as this wave of clients kind of comes through. If your analytics are off, that means something with your LinkedIn optimization are off. Right now, I'm working with a DE&I client whose one of his top keywords is healthcare. He's never worked in healthcare before. He's not affiliated with healthcare. Something is going wrong on his profile. All right. So we've covered a lot, guys. So let me go ahead and do a hoorah moment here. This client of mine, he doesn't even have 100 connections. You see that? 86 connections. And I'll be honest, very few people within the aviation industry are even on LinkedIn. He contacted me within 2 days of doing this LinkedIn optimization with 2 quality job offers. That's nuts. That is the power of just tweaking this basic stuff. Remember, LinkedIn's algorithm works in 3 ways: keywords, connections, and engagement. He's not engaging and he's not connecting or connected. That was just based on keywords. And so that's, if you're questioning, does this shit really work? Is this worth my time? It is. And here's somebody else. This client is a data analyst who does not use LinkedIn, but got an interview at Amazon with the updates he made. And this man has been secretly looking for work for the past 2 years. So full transparency, most people actually have to use LinkedIn to get the kind of results that they want. And my guess is if you're in this session, you probably are going to have to use it. And how Dan and Gabe are going to teach you how to take it to the next level is really what you're going to need to learn how to master. But if you don't have these foundational elements to your LinkedIn profile with how you have it set up, it will screw you up. All right, so something to keep in mind, going to events is fantastic. When you RSVP to events on LinkedIn, just an FYI, it will show. And so how to handle multiple offers is one of the LinkedIn Live events that I did. I go live every Friday at 11 o'clock, talking about different leadership topics or job seeker topics. And Aaron here attended how to handle multiple offers, and his employer didn't know he was looking for work and got a call like, hey, you got multiple offers. And so just keep that in mind. You can still go to an event without RSVPing to it, and nobody will know you attended as long as you don't engage. But if you do RSVP to a LinkedIn event, it does show up. And if you do engage in the event, it will be able to be seen under LinkedIn activity. So if you turn creator mode on in your activity, it'll only show the things that you posted. But if you click activity, you can see anything that you've engaged on. So keep that in mind when you're saying things. Sometimes we can have personal opinions that are made out of, sometimes it's not what we say, it's how we say it. And so tact goes a really long way. And although I'm a big advocate of being your authentic self, authenticity isn't an excuse to be rude. So I'll get off that bandwagon because we're all professionals here, right? Another missed opportunity for, I would say, 99% of the profiles I work on is having a featured section. If you guys aren't utilizing your featured section, I highly recommend you figure out what to put on here. So at the top of your profile, there's an opportunity to add sections. You click on that gray plus sign, and then it'll pop up what you want to add to your featured sections. You can pin a post, you can add a newsletter, an article, a link, media, whatever. So maybe if there's not much to add just yet that you can think of, have you ever won an award and you can take a picture of that certification? Go ahead and add that. If you'll see on this, I was going to try to move it so you could see it, but all this is an award where she was recognized for like going above and beyond, right? And then in the other one, he's pinning his posts that have high engagement. So talk about branding, right? If you're in a sales focused role and you want to add credibility or legitimacy to what you do, what's one way to do that? Get social proof. So if you start pinning your posts that do really well, if you choose to start posting, that's going to give you additional credibility that what you're saying has some clout to it. Another way to get that social proof is by getting recommendations. And so I already showed you one way to get recommendations under the services you provide, but then there's also the way to get recommendations, which is the ideal way to get recommendations, is by having a recommendation section on your profile. So if you don't currently have recommendations, add profile section, recommend, get that on your profile, send messages out to a couple of people with the data that you downloaded, your connection data that you downloaded, and send them to other people, but also give them to other people. And so even if it's difficult for you to get recommendations because of the industry you're in, how you talk about other people says a lot about you. So if you're thinking, that's going to be impossible, send them to other people, because the way you share what you value about others will be helpful as well. So your about section, I've got about 4 more minutes before I'm going to stop. We're doing really well on time. Aside from figuring out what you want to put in your headline, I would say your about section is probably the most difficult content on your LinkedIn to write. Everyone has different styles of writing and personal preference. So I'll simply give you my best tips for writing a captivating about section that will get recruiters coming to you, leads coming to you, or whatever. And Dan is going to talk to you about the DM strategy in the next hour. So tip number 1, leverage storytelling in your about section. Make it personal. And yes, this means writing in first person. Tip number 2, break up the different parts of your profile with spaces or Unicode. And Unicode is, I don't exactly know what it means, but it basically means it allows text to be bolded or underlined. Now, LinkedIn's algorithm can't pick up on any words that you use Unicode with. So only use that for like the section headers. See how like on this one example, it says certifications. The algorithm doesn't need to pick up on certifications, but it visually breaks the eye down. And you can use emojis too to break this up. So if you want more examples, just connect with me on LinkedIn. I will send you the copy of my SOPs, which has multiple examples of about sections in here, with how to find a Unicode converter site and where to find symbols and emojis and stuff. When you're writing your about section, just think, does this make me want to reach out to someone? Does this make me likable? And that brings me to my last tip, tip number 4. I highly recommend having a call to action in your about section. So that way people know that they can reach out to you or why they should be reaching out to you. So 2 minutes, can we get through it? In terms of your experience section, I don't think that it should be a copy and paste of your resume. That's my personal belief. You want to give enough to know that like you know your stuff, but not give away anything that's all too confidential. If everything is a copy and paste from your resume, you're not giving a recruiter a reason to reach out to you. When you go to edit your experience, add the description, pair skills, add media if you want to. And then if you want to add a career break in there to explain why you've got a break, go ahead, sure. And oops, let me go back. And then one of the questions I get is how to pair, like if you work from one company to a next, or you've been a part of a lot of mergers, what you can do, you just want to make sure the dates align. And you can always add in the title or in the description formally a different company to show that you survived through different acquisitions. And then skills, you want to make sure that you use the drop-down box. If you add any new skill, LinkedIn's algorithm is not going to recognize it. So although to the human being, it means something, but for you to come up in the Boolean search when somebody's using that search bar to find you, they're not going to be able to find you through that. But add 50 skills, pair them with your employment, which is a new feature from this summer. And then if any of them have skills badges, like if you're in tech, go ahead and get those badges. Take the 15 question test that if you fail it, nobody knows. But if you pass it, you get a badge where LinkedIn is confirming you know Python or whatever it may be. And they just rolled out where you can demonstrate a certain skill. I haven't had anybody really use that yet, but there is that option, which is new. And then because I want to get to questions, I just want to congratulate everybody because you made it through this 45-minute LinkedIn optimization session. So now you know how to do it all, and it's time for you to take action and massively implement. And to make that a little bit easier for you, go ahead and let me know what questions you have. Tatiana, I don't know if people come off mute or if you just throw questions at me, however you want to do it. I am game. And hi, Dan.
Awesome. Tegan, that was so great. I actually learned a few things too in the beginning. I was like, oh, I didn't even know I should turn off my profile before updating. People probably see everything I put. But awesome. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and jump right into the questions. If you have questions for Tegan, put them in now so that way she can answer them live for you. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump right in. So someone just kind of wants to know, in addition to the feature section, what is your advice about utilizing creator mode?
If you have 500 plus connections, I say go ahead and turn it on because it changes your connection button to follow. And you really want to be at that 500 connections to get that extra algorithm boost. And then it allows you to have 5 hashtags for people to better identify you as. And then in your activity section, it only features your posts versus your activity on other people's posts. So it keeps people more engaged with you and your stuff versus other people's things. So I'm a fan of it.
All right, awesome. All right. So this is from Jen. She wants to know, is it better to feature your work that you're proud of in the feature section or under the experience section, or both? So maybe proud work, not proud work.
You could do both, right? So I worked on a really neat WIOA grant, and I have it featured underneath that experience section because it's not relevant to what I'm doing anymore. Although the majority of my clients are experienced professionals, the ARP Back to Work 50 Plus grant, it's not something that I'm actively working on. So I have that in my experience section. But for like graphic designers, you can have a whole slew of them there. The thing with adding media to your experience section, they changed it. So instead of going horizontally across your page, now it's going vertically, and depending on how you want everything to be seen before somebody has to press see more, it might be more beneficial for it to be in your featured section. But on your featured section, only one feature shows up on the mobile app, and like 70-something% of LinkedIn users use their mobile app. Whereas on the desktop, where less people spend time on, you can see 3 before having to press click more. So just use your best judgment.
All right, perfect. Okay, so Mark wants to know if there's any recommendations for tracking your analytics in LinkedIn over time.
I have a VA for that. But she's got a like a Google sheet where it's just week after week, and then she takes notes on what kind of posts do better than others. And because I do LinkedIn Lives, has notes on how many people RSVP'd, engaged, etc. Maybe Dan might be a better resource for that because I really don't track my numbers very well.
All right, awesome. Okay, so it looks like Beverly, she's kind of like in a predicament here when it comes to LinkedIn. So she's saying our company is a roofing software company, and it's not easy to pull up roofing businesses or business connections or run paid ads targeting only the roofing industry. Do you know if there's ways she can do that? She's not finding roofing as an industry category.
So it's probably under construction. And so if you use Sales Navigator, you might be able to do the Boolean search where you can, even if you don't use Sales Navigator for everyone, LinkedIn has a very sophisticated search engine. So when I say Boolean, what that means is you have your prime word, right? And then you can filter it further from there. So it can be company names, first connections, industries, locations, etc. And when you use additional keywords and search filters, it makes it so that you get closer to the search you're actually looking for. I found some industries are just not as heavily used on LinkedIn, and it's actually better to go on like a Facebook or an Instagram to find more of those leads. But I know this is about LinkedIn, so hopefully that helps.
Perfect. All right, let me go over to the chat. Lots of questions coming in the chat. If you guys want to put them also in the Q&A, it's just easier to locate them right away. So let's see. Charlie wants to know, how do I get my logo next to my current position in my experience section?
Okay, and so if your company has a company page, when you're typing out the name of your company, a drop-down box should come up. You want to find your company's page through that drop-down box, click on it, then the logo will be there. If your company that you're working for doesn't have a company page on LinkedIn, then there's nothing for the tech to tie it to, and you won't be able to do it. And if you're your own business owner, then you need to create a company page with your logo on there, and then you can sync it that way. So it's just by using that drop-down box.
All right, perfect. Christine, how far back should you go? This is related to publication. So if she has multiple platforms, podcasts, blogs, articles, should you just create a website?
You can, but you can also feature those different links in your featured section. So websites are great, And you can send people to your website right there from that new feature that LinkedIn has come up with, where you can link something at the very top. So you would link them, you would send them to your website, which then has all the options. Or in your featured section, you could do that. Or in your experience section, you can say, you can create a new experience podcast host and have a link right there to your podcast. You can, and then have another experience that says whatever that other thing is, and have the link right there to make it really easy for everybody to get to where you might want to be sending them to. I'm not a business coach, but the less options you give people typically tends to catch more fish than overwhelming people with options, because when people have too many options, they're less likely to take action.
Perfect. Okay, questions are shooting in. Okay, you ready? We're going to try to do like a spitfire question round. Okay. Jen wants to know, to prevent ageism, how far back should she go with her job history?
On your resume, I typically do like past 10 years or 15 years, depending on your tenure in your current company, and then have additional experience section without dates. I also remove the dates on education. So for your LinkedIn profile, I mean, people are going to see at some point, like, you didn't start your career as a director or whatever it may be. And so some people, you know, go back to the 80s, but I typically try to stick with like experience from the 90s and above, but use your best judgment on that, depending on what your tenured was and how relevant it is and how much clout those organizations had. So like if you worked at Apple in the 90s, you might want to have that on there. So use your best judgment, but take the dates off of your education, and that'll help too, because most recruiters are too busy. That's a nice way of saying lazy, to click the see more page, to see more under your experience, because they only care about your recent stuff.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see. Renee wants to know, oh, this goes back to the beginning. How do you turn off your profile to update?
Send me a connection request on LinkedIn, and I will send you my LinkedIn SOPs where it's got step-by-step. I like, if the file wasn't as big, I would just put it in the comments now, but the file is pretty big and I don't know how to shrink it. So if someone wants to teach me how to do that, that would be amazing.
Perfect. And I just dropped your LinkedIn link in there one more time. So I lost my spot in the chat. All right, I'm gonna go back to the Q&A because now I lost my spot in the chat.
Okay. Tom says, I see in the chat right now, are start and end dates required on LinkedIn's experience section? Yes, they are, but not on education. You don't have to fill out education dates.
Perfect. Okay, so this is just an anonymous one. It says, do you have any advice for students who don't have experience?
So if you're a student, if what you're learning in school is relevant to what you want to do after school, bring forward those projects that you're working on. That may be a PowerPoint deck where you just take one of the graphics and have that on your featured section and give a description of what you did. So like, let's say you're in school for business and you're thinking you might want to do like an analyst position. Well, then put one of your Excel charts in a picture and show how you're learning how to work through that data to create visualizations and recommendations.
Perfect. I found my spot back in the chat.
Okay.
All right. In terms of the algorithm, how important is it to follow people versus being connected only?
Okay, so for the algorithm, if you follow someone, their post will show up in your news feed. That does not make you a connection. If you want to have them as a connection, which means all of their connections then become second connections, then you need to connect. If you're connected, their content will also show up in your news feed, but doesn't give you that more intimate exposure to them.
All right. So Danielle wants to know, which upgrade should I go with as a business consultant? LinkedIn Premium Business or Sales Navigator? And are the upgrades even worth it?
If you're going to use it, it's absolutely worth it. I don't use Sales Navigator, but if you would like me to connect you with someone who I'm referral based, but if you're not, I can introduce you to a couple of people who use Sales Navigator, and you can even get a trial from LinkedIn so you can test it out to see if that's something that you would really want to keep up with, but it is powerful.
All right, perfect. So Verona wants to know, where is the connect button when follow is the only one that's displayed?
Okay, so you could, it's, oops, that's Facebook. Let me get on LinkedIn. You do, because I'm sure people are having that problem with me right now. So when you are on LinkedIn, especially on the mobile app, there's the option to do see more. You click on the see more button. And so instead of it being follow, you'll say personalized invite. And that allows you to send a note. Hey, just saw your presentation. Can you send me your SOPs? And it's as easy as that. And I do recommend you send personalized invites anytime you're going to be connecting with someone, because that gives you a record of how you met that person. So like 10 years down the road, it's not, how do I even know this person? It's, oh, we met at this event or through this person, or I really liked their content. So that way, because you're just going to forget stuff.
All right, so I think we'll close out with this question. Okay, it's pretty long. So this is from Stephanie. How much description in the resume in this section is too much to provide or too little? I know we want to use as many keywords on LinkedIn as possible for SEO. So I would assume you want quite a bit on your resume with keywords included here. Is this an incorrect assumption? And then she also says, also in the experience section, it doesn't let you skip entering dates on employment.
In your LinkedIn profile, no, you cannot skip dates on LinkedIn employment. You would just have to omit them if you don't want to go back that far. The only thing that you can skip dates on is your experience section. In terms of your resume, like ATS optimization is for resume. That's not really what this session is for today. However, I do have a free resume template with a step-by-step guide on how to write a modern resume on my website. So let me put that in the chat for anybody who needs something like that. If you click on that, like a little box will pop up and you can download it, or you can scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and it's there. I also have a resource on the landing page of my website where it's like organizations, scripts, resources. I call it my job search BFF because there's like everything in there that someone would need. You can download that as well if you're a job seeker. But on your LinkedIn profile descriptions, you don't want to share everything about your experience on your LinkedIn profile, because then it doesn't give recruiters a reason to talk to you. Keep it high level, keep it your overarching scope, a couple of your featured accomplishments, and then leave them wanting more.